Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Terminal Tech Talk series. My name is Nabil Fahel, and I lead partnerships for Terminal across Canada. It's a pleasure to have you join us, and we are deeply grateful for you taking the time today to tune in to a really cool subject. Before we begin, I just wanted to mention that if you have any questions for the speakers today, you can easily pop them in to the little chat widget on our live stream page. So just head over to terminal.io/livestream if you're not there already, and feel free to put your questions right in the chat roll widget, and we'll try and get to as many of them as we possibly can. Also, if you're not familiar with Terminal, we bring global opportunities to global engineers. We bring all kinds of jobs at various different companies. And if you're interested in any of the job opportunities that we have at Terminal, just head over to terminal.io/openings, where hiring is always on. I also just want to give a special shout out to one of our speakers, Caroline Simpson, who is on the Bungalow team. And Caroline is one of the engineering managers that I've known for some time. So looking forward to hearing from her and the rest of the panelists today. On top of that, I just wanted to mention that I first met Maria, our moderator and MC, in Vancouver during one of the shoots that we had in our office, actually, when we had a live studio audience, as well as live streaming the show like we're doing today. So it's a pleasure to be able to collaborate with her on this program, and it's been awesome working with her to put this together for everybody. And also, I just wanted to mention that Maria is a software development manager at PayByPhone, and PayByPhone has an office in Vancouver where she works, and she manages 3 different software development teams over there. But she also is an immigrant to Canada who is really passionate about helping newcomers. So she's also a co-founder of a business and community called Belongst, where she offers career advice, financial advice, and kind of, helping people find their way in the tech sector, particularly because she's a big advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion in technology. So really looking forward to hearing what she has to say about her own experience as she moderates and MCs today's panel. And the last thing I'll mention is that we work hard to bring these programs to you. There you are. Hey, Maria. So we work hard to bring these programs to you every single month. So if you're interested in more of our Terminal Tech Talks, just we'll reach out to you after the show over email, and we'll give you a lot more information about what's coming up and the different subjects and so on and so forth. So without any further ado, I'll pass it over to Maria, who will introduce today's panelists. Thanks, Maria.
Awesome. Thanks, Nabil. Thanks, everyone, for attending tonight's event. I'm so excited that you're here. I've got some amazing panel speakers that I want to introduce you to. Let's first start with Caroline. Caroline Simpson. She's been a software developer for over 15 years. She's currently is an engineering manager at Bungalow. Outside of work, she's up to many things. A couple of these things are she is the co-founder of WattPi, the Waterloo Python group. She's also a bass player in a band called Ode to Joy. Next up, we have Erin Rahenfuhrer. She is an engineering manager with over 20 years of experience in tech. Before FAIR, she was a senior software development leader at Oracle and NetSuite. She's now an engineering manager at FAIR. Outside of work, she's a drummer in the band Ode to Joy. And yes, that is the same band Caroline plays in. Last but not least, we have Vivian Lau. She's a senior engineering manager at Procurify. She's over 10 years of experience managing teams of software developers. She moonlights as the founder of the Vancouver Software Development Manager Group. It's a meetup group on meetup.com. It is a community of development managers who support each other. They currently have over 1,000 members and host monthly events. Be sure to check them out. Now let's kick off the question part of our chat here. Let's see, maybe I'll choose Caroline first. Caroline, could you please describe to me your background and your journey to present day? Also, if you could talk about what your current role looks like.
Sure, I'd love to. So I started out about 15 years ago after graduating from the University of Waterloo with a bachelor's in mathematics and computer science. And I started working as a software developer at that time. And then I just continued being a software developer up until about a year ago. I really never wanted to go into management. And so I just kept trying to be the best software developer that I could be. And so that is what I did. And I worked at various different companies along the way, from everything from like a nonprofit up into like Intel Security, which is McAfee. And now I'm at Bungalow, where I also worked as software doing backend development and DevOps type things before I moved into management. And so now my job right now pretty much looks like I talk to people all day. So I interact with our team members. I lead a team of about 12 developers, and I spend a lot of time talking to them one on one, and then working on process things, and helping out where I can. I also still get pulled in to do development as necessary because we're a startup and you have to do what you have to do.
Awesome. Thanks, Caroline, for the background. Super interesting. May have to dig into that a little more. I want to hear from Vivian. Same question to you, Vivian. Could you please describe your background and journey to present day and what your current role looks like?
Sure. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Vivian. I am the senior engineering manager at Procurify. And currently, what I'm doing is I'm managing a team of 5 to 6 engineers, and I'm managing 2 other engineering managers who actually are responsible for 3 other teams of engineers. So I have like over 10 years of management experience. And I started off my career, like I graduated with my degree in John's major in computing science and business. And I started off as a developer. So I joined my first company, and then the company was growing. And then I got an opportunity to manage a team. And then later on, like I moved to other companies as well. And then I started like managing more and more teams. And then eventually I joined Procurify. And then now I recently started like managing managers last year. So so I do like just like what Caroline was saying, it's like a lot of meetings every day. That's my day-to-day, is like a lot of meetings, talking to different people, trying to get the stakeholders like working together to allow efficient delivery of the deliverables. And I also like contribute to some of the things outside of work, like for example, the meetup group that I was talking about, to help other engineering managers to actually become better and better engineering managers as well. And I also at work do like I organize the co-op program at Procurify too. So so I think that like that's basically what I do, is I talk to people and work with people and I make things better.
Awesome. Thanks, Vivian. Aaron, same question to you, Aaron. Could you please describe your background and your journey to present day and what your current role looks like?
Sure. I have a very similar background to Caroline. I also majored in computer science at the University of Waterloo and started as a developer also at McAfee. I worked on some of their consumer security applications, including the parental controls and the wireless networking security apps. From there, I moved to BlackBerry, where I worked in developer relations, which was more of a consultancy role. We would help third-party companies bring their apps to BlackBerry 10. And I worked with a lot of the social media companies, so Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn were part of my portfolio. From there, I moved to NetSuite, which became Oracle. And there is when I started getting into management. And after Oracle, I was looking for change. So that's where I found FAIR. And that's where I am today. I have been there for almost 2 years. I'm leading 3 teams there right now, and really enjoying it. And as part of my day to day, I would say that again, like as the other 2 ladies mentioned, that I spend a lot of time in meetings, a lot of time helping other people, making sure that they have what they need to be successful. So whether that's my individual reports and helping them be unblocked, maybe thinking through an issue. I work with the product managers quite a bit as well to make sure that we're resourced for what they want to build, and that everything is clear from the communication between product and development. And then as well, I work with my peers in engineering management to make sure that we're able to push through some initiatives that we need to in order to move from the startup to the scale up situation where we are now.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. Sounds like you and Caroline have known each other for quite some time. That's nice. You don't see that very often. Okay, my next question. I am curious, being a manager myself, I know my transition from individual contributor was, quite jarring at first. But I'd love to hear Caroline, and not picking on you, but you mentioned, for a while you didn't want to get into management, and then here you are a manager now. So can you maybe talk about the differences in the roles?
For sure. Yeah, so it's really a completely different job. So I think as an individual contributor, I cared a lot about what we were building and how to build it, and doing all the technical details um, at that level. But then I moved into like a hybrid role before where I was. We called them guild leads. They're uh, like the technical lead, but we were also doing people management. And so we were trying to lead the projects, do IC work ourselves, and then our individual contributor work, and also then manage a team of people that we had. And so we have we had five of us at the time in this role, and we found that a lot of the um, time the people management would just like fall by the wayside because none of us really wanted to focus on that. And so we spent a lot of time doing like thinking about the architecture, and making sure we were building systems that were stable and good, and working through technical problems and all of that sort of things, doing like technical mentorship, but nobody was doing the people management really. So um, it was something that everybody felt was lacking, and so at some point I decided that I actually did want to focus on that, and so I asked if I could switch out of this role that was like a mix of all of them and just focus on that, and then took that over for the rest of the guild leads so that they didn't need to focus on that at all, and started managing the whole team then in that way. So definitely a different role.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Caroline. Erin, could you describe your experience going from individual contributor role to management?
For sure. One of the biggest differences I find being in a management role is that at the end of the day, I don't always have something that I can point to, that I can say, this is what I accomplished today. Like, this is the feature that I tested, or these are the lines of code that I wrote. It's a lot more nebulous, I find, our contributions. And so it's something that you really have to get used to, because you can feel like, okay, what did I do this week? Like, what did I actually accomplish? I can't point to anything and say, this is now clearly different than it was at the beginning of the week. I find that the management contributions are much more long-term as well. You might not see it at the end of the day or at the end of the week, but you can tell after a month or after a quarter or after a release that like this was necessary, and this was my influence and my impact. I find also that as a manager, I have like 20 different things that are vying for my attention on any given day. I may have like 3 or 4 different initiatives of my own that I'm trying to work with. I've got 13 reports that I'm meeting with and trying to help them along. I've got 4 different PMs that I work with, product managers. Whereas an individual contributor, when I was working as a developer, I really only had like 1 or 2 things that were on my plate on any given time. Like, I was working on my my feature that I was implementing, and maybe I was answering questions about a previous feature that I built. But it was really much more narrowly focused. Whereas as a manager, I'm finding you really need to be able to manage your time and determine what is the most important and impactful thing for you to be working on at any given time, and just let go of everything else.
I can't agree more. Everything you've said, it just reflects my own personal experience. Thank you, Erin. Vivian, I'd love to hear from you. How is your management role, especially senior manager now? How is it different from when you were a developer?
For sure. I think it's very different. When I first became a manager, like switch from IC to a manager, I was not used to it. I was very in control of the things that I can do every day. So I want to do like code review, I want to do things and stuff. And then there are only so much things I can do every day, right? And then later on, I learned about, as a manager, like it wasn't working out for me. I wasn't really managing. I was actually doing the job as a developer. So later on, I've learned about what a manager is supposed to be doing is about delegation. You need to trust the people. You need to empower people. So your job is to become a multiplier. So you're supposed to have like a higher leverage. So what happened was that like at the beginning, like as a manager, you have just like what Erin was saying, right? You don't even know what you have done for the day. Like people will say, "Oh, I've done this today," and then if you ask me, I say, "Oh, I was in a lot of meetings today." That's what I would be in, right? And then I found out that later on, I learned about those meetings that I was in. I get information. I happen to remove the roadblock, and then also I see a bigger picture and broader picture about how things work together and connect together. And that's when I can make the right decisions and then or guide the people in my team to make the good decisions as well. So right now, like even because my role changed a little bit, and then now I'm managing managers as well. So I'm even one step away from like the frontline people who are actually doing their coding and stuff, right? So I need to even like empower them more, trust them more. And at the same time, like I need to be able to be there to support them. So I need to still be in touch somehow. And I found that like right now, whenever I see the teams are being successful, whenever I can like mentor the managers and guide them to actually be able to help their team, and it's something that I find it myself super happy about.
It's amazing. Thanks, Vivian. I think we've touched on this a little bit here and there, but I'd like to focus this next question on, and this one I guess is for Erin. What got you interested in a leadership position in engineering?
So for me, I got into leadership while I was at NetSuite, and it wasn't something that I was really looking for either. It was something that my manager at the time asked if it was something I wanted to try. And I just wanted to be open to the opportunity. I wanted to just try something new and just say yes to opportunities as they came out in front of me. So I thought, yeah, let's try it. And if it doesn't work out, if it's not a good fit for me, then that's something that I know then I've learned that, and I can go back to what I was doing before. So once I got into leadership, though, I found that what I really enjoyed about it was being able to help the people that are like help my teammates, help my reports, being able to help them like learn from some of the mistakes that I've made in the past, and help just guide them through their career. I really enjoy having a broader picture of everything that's going on. So it's kind of like the opposite of being able to hyper focus on something as a developer, is you do only understand your small part of it. Whereas I really enjoyed understanding more of the bigger picture of the business and how things fit together. And I also do really enjoy having 20 different things to focus on. I like having a lot going on. I like being really busy. I like having lots of different people that I talk to. So that's kind of how once I was in leadership, how I knew that it was for me and it was something I wanted to continue with.
Makes sense. Yeah, I love always being busy. I mean, that's why I wanted to work with Terminal, put this talk together. I love being busy, and management is so rewarding. You know, it's different rewards from being an individual contributor. Thank you, Erin. Vivian, what got you interested in the leadership position at first?
At the beginning, I wasn't very interested to become a people manager. I was more interested to become a project manager. So because I really enjoy seeing a project from start to finish and then how the customer will be using it and they are really happy about it. So at first I didn't want to manage people because people are very troublesome. They are very like a lot of people, they are very hard to manage. So but then I got an opportunity to become a people manager. So I start learning my role as I go. And then later on, as time goes by, I start enjoying it a lot because I found that like as an individual contributor, I only do so much. And this is one project I work on. Maybe I work on like for I don't know a few months or like a couple of weeks or whatever, right? But now within a few months or a couple of weeks, I can, as a manager, I can actually work with so many projects at the same time and see them from start to finish. And then also another thing that I really enjoy is as I work with like a lot of the talented engineers, they are more like my partners. So I actually bounce ideas with them. I really enjoy that, and I actually see them grow too. So sometimes I like there was one time that I felt so happy that my teammate got recognized in public instead of me. And behind the scene that I knew that I was the one who helped that person to grow to that stage so that they actually get recognized by other people. And then I think that kind of a satisfaction is something that I really enjoy and I really love being a manager for.
That's great. Thank you, Vivian. Yeah, people management is not easy. There's so many books in it for a reason because there's no one way to manage people. Caroline, back to you. What got you interested in a leadership position?
So I'd have to say it's very similar to Erin and Vivian, where I still wasn't looking for it for a long time, and then one day I just kind of so before I got into it, I kind of thought I just didn't like people, which I think is a fairly common feeling for a lot of software developers. Like you just want to like write the code and not like talk to people and not have to deal with people, and so I was like convinced that I just did not like people. I liked some people, but so then I like honestly I went to therapy and I learned a lot about myself, and it turned out I do actually like people and I actually care a lot about them. And so once I realized that, I realized that the way that I could then help my team be most effective was to be in management and give them the support that they needed, to really flourish and grow, just as like Erin and Vivian were saying. So I think that was the and the thing that really happened was we went into a pandemic, and I could just like see other people suffering in ways that I had felt in the past, and I was like, oh, this is the thing that helped me, was knowing that people care about me and will help me. So
Mhm.
I wanted to do that for them.
Exactly. Thank you, Caroline. It's so funny your comment about I don't know if I like people, because definitely it's run through my head like, do I like people? Why am I getting into management? But yes, you do like people. It's just it manifests differently. So thank you so much for your answer. Moving on to the next question. Vivian, let's start with you. Did you face any hurdles along the way to your leadership position? If so, do you have any tips to provide fellow women, non-binary, or other minorities who may be interested in leadership?
For sure. At first, I got more like a flown into the position of a leadership management, right? And I didn't know how to do it, and there was not anyone in my company who supported me in my role. So I ran into a lot of like mistakes. I didn't know how to delegate. I didn't know how to fire people properly. I didn't know how to give proper feedback. I didn't know how to like grow people properly. So I was trying to learn those things myself, and then I found that like it works. Like I actually like I was curious about many things, and I started like looking up things how I can do better, how I can like learn from my mistakes as well. So it works that way, but I found out that it would be even more effective if there are people to help me out. So like that's why like right now I'm involved in the Vancouver Software Development Managers Meetup community, because I found that if I can get a bunch of people in a community to help each other out, that would be perfect. Then we can help the people who were like me before, who didn't have anyone in the company, and then we can have like a mentorship program going on. having each other with with our skills and experience as well. And I think that will actually be really effective. So yeah, so basically I think those are the hurdles that I have. Yeah, those are the hurdles I have. I think that try to look for people to support you, and I think there are a lot of people right now from what we had before to support. Like there are many programs and systems right now to support people right now than what we had before.
Definitely. Thank you, Vivian. And for those of you who are in Vancouver, you need to check out the Meetup group. It is a fantastic support network for managers. Erin, back to you. Same question. Can you share any hurdles you had along the way to leadership and any tips you may have?
Sure. I find that a big part of leadership is about influence. And I think that in order to have that influence, a certain amount of credibility is needed. And I think that when you're someone that doesn't look like what's expected of someone in tech, if you're an underrepresented person in tech, that credibility is more hard won. I think that some of that's maybe assumed when you look the part, when people are kind of used to leaders that are, in a certain mold. So I think that gaining that credibility is a very important component for a new leader or someone that's maybe new in leadership, like in a new company. So some tips to gain that credibility would be to make sure that you're visible, that your work is visible, that to get to the point where people are seeking out your opinion. So asking the tough questions in meetings, giving thoughtful comments on code reviews, or just making sure that your thoughts are wanted on projects. And then in addition to that, you can also borrow credibility from other people. So what that may look like is if there is a leader that is respected in the organization, is getting them on your side, maybe asking them if they can, help boost or bolster your credibility. So that can look like in meetings, making sure that they are making a point of asking your opinion or deferring to you, or making sure that it's known that they trust you and that they believe in you. And then that can go a long way for other people to see that, and that they can then, start to trust in your opinion as well.
Very good advice. Thank you, Erin. Caroline, same question. Could you please share any hurdles you faced along the way to leadership, and if you have any tips?
Sure. So I think that the biggest hurdle I faced was self, and not knowing what I wanted or who I was. And so once I figured that out, at least somewhat, I was much more capable of doing the job that was necessary. So I didn't face any particular hurdles from other people in the company. I had an environment that was very supportive. Everybody, basically just accepted that I was in this role. So I think, yeah, it's basically myself.
That's an excellent point. It's definitely a role where you need to know yourself, and even in some cases make improvements. I know when I started out, having to understand, okay, how to approach certain topics delicately and whatnot. So it definitely rings true what you said. Thank you for your answer. Next question. Who should I start with? Vivian, I think I'll go with you. Next question being, the diversity, equity, and inclusion effort has exploded recently in the last couple of years. So what would you like to see companies in tech doing to support these initiatives?
That's a good question. I think companies just need to have that conversation happening, right? If it's not happening, then it's not started anywhere. So you have to start with start conversation first, and then you can see what are the things we can do to provide support. So I would like to see that companies, they are thinking about it, they are considering about it, and then they also put some kind of mechanism or system in place to allow maybe equal opportunities and pay and promotion for our for people of different diversity. Because, like, for example, I think that men are more comfortable for asking for raise and promotion, while women are not. So, like, if we don't have that kind of like opportunity in place, or maybe some kind of people would be paying attention to that, then maybe like men will get more raise or like high salary than women. So I think definitely like it would be nice if company has a committee, like they have a committee set up as well to talk about that and then focus on that topic too. That would be really good. Yeah.
It's an excellent point, Vivian. There's so many people I've mentored on having to understand how to approach, asking for more money because it's so hard. And I've done it myself, and I remember leaving the room just sweating bullets. I was like, oh my god, I just came in and asked for more money. What's gonna happen? I got it in the end, but it was very nerve wracking. It doesn't come natural. So, excellent point, Vivian. Erin. So, same question to you. With the diversity, equity, and inclusion effort having exploded recently, what would you love to see companies in tech doing to support them?
I find a lot of these initiatives focus on very top of funnel. So how do we get more women into tech? And even as far as like, how do we get children, like female children involved in tech? And I think that's kind of silly when focusing on like a women's initiative. And then it's like, okay, well, let's talk about children. I would love to see more focus on what do we do for the women that are already in this industry, instead of just how do we get more women into tech or how do we get women interested in tech. I think it should be how do we what's the path to getting into a senior leadership or an executive type role? Like how do we support the people that are already in the industry and make sure that they're not leaving. I also, similar to what Vivian was saying, I'd love to see real commitment for pay equity, ensuring that it's not just about who is good at negotiating, who's not afraid to ask for a higher salary, or who's like just what can we do to ensure that all the pay, the stock options, the bonuses, the benefits too that we're getting are equally beneficial and important and just equal for both men and women, for anyone that's in this role.
Very good points. Thank you, Erin. Caroline, same question to you. What would you like to see tech companies do to support the diversity, equity, and inclusion effort?
Yeah, so I have similar thoughts, but I would go as far as to say, like, one of the things that we definitely need in order to support pay equity is to actually have transparency. So I think that in a lot of companies, and I mean, pretty much in our whole society, we don't talk about pay and what people are paid and how much and what the equity is and such, and that makes it really easy for these things to hide. So I think that by having transparency in these things, then we can actually solve the problem in some ways. So because it makes people uncomfortable, that and a lot of the reasons I think are that um, they have things that they're trying to hide, right? So they companies don't want to share this because they are paying people differently because somebody negotiated better, and you're rewarding these behaviors that aren't necessarily the things that are important to the jobs that you're paying for. Um, so I think being honest and open about uh, things like pay and stock options and such really would go a long way to making equity a thing that is actually possible. And the last point that I have on there would be also treating people as humans, like so, and not just women, but like everybody like on the team that they're not just a software developer. They have feelings that they come to work with. They have other things happening in their lives, and really treating and making that the normal behavior that I think that would make the industry much more comfortable for many people, and help retention in the long term.
Yeah, definitely agree. Thank you, Caroline. Remembering the human aspect and people management is so important, and I feel, not every manager can do that well, remember human aspects. So thank you for bringing that up. Our last question, well, of my questions anyway, before we go to audience questions. What advice do you have for women and other minorities who want to take the leadership path? I will start with Erin on this question.
So I would recommend not waiting for a title to be a leader. The leadership and management are not necessarily the same thing. You don't have to wait for someone to give you authority in order to be a leader. I think that you can find opportunities for that, and determine for yourself like what it means to be a leader for you, what influence you want to have. And then find opportunities that allow you to demonstrate those skills, whether it's you want to have influence over something, or you want people to see you as someone that they can go to for advice, or whether you just want like a broader understanding of what the company is doing. I think try to find those opportunities and showcase that's something you're interested in, and that's something that like you're building skills towards. I think that writing and speaking and project management are often overlooked skills that we need as leaders and in management. So finding the opportunity to practice those skills, whether it's writing a blog post for your company or maybe a help article or a wiki page explaining for new developers how to onboard. And then for speaking, being able to come to an event like this and having the opportunity to share your story or talk about your company, maybe at a job fair. And then for project management, just seeing is there something that just needs to get done at your company that nobody has time for, and can you try to carve out some time? Can you manage the tasks that are happening? Can you bring other people into what is it that you want to, and can you communicate that status out to stakeholders, and just show that you're able to do that work and that you have the capability, and that see if that's something that you enjoy.
Thank you, Erin. That's really good advice. Vivian, question for you. What advice do you have for women and other minorities who want to become a leader?
For sure. I totally agree with what Erin was saying. Becoming leader doesn't mean that you have to become a manager. So if you're thinking about the management path, then I think the first thing is you have to know yourself really well, have a very great self-awareness, know what you really enjoy most, what you actually do best and stuff, and then figure out, are you meant to become a manager, like to go down a managerial path? Because managerial path is not a promotion, it's actually a career change. So you need to think about, for your individual contribution path, you can still be a leader, while managerial path, you can be a leader. So there are both paths that is open for you to become a leader as well. So in terms of the advice side of things, I think one thing is I think it's very important is make your work visible. I think we touched on that topic before. So you need to learn how to manage up. So you need to know how to show your work to make your work visible to your manager, to the people around you, so that people know how much impact you're making. As you become a leader, your impact is supposed to be bigger, and you are a multiplier, right? So I would say that ask and look for opportunities that you can make bigger impact in your work, no matter you are an individual contributor or a manager as well. So look for those opportunities and then ask for it, saying, can I try this project? Can I be involved in something like this that I will actually be able to make bigger impact in my company? And then at the same time, the last thing is have confidence in yourself. I found that it's very all the time, women, they're like, oh, I think I'm doing this thing really well. I don't want to try this thing until I think I'm ready yet. You will never be ready if you never get a chance to work on something else. So basically, I would say that confidence in yourself, you already have some good foundation going on, and then just look for and ask for those opportunities, and then be involved in those opportunities before you're ready. You're completely ready. because you will learn on your job, and then you actually can be doing really well as you actually learn on your job as well. And then also look for people around you to help you out, because like, for example, if you know a mentor within your company, also a company who can guide you along the way, that would be really good as well to unlock your potentials, because I think everyone can be a leader as long as you try and aim for it.
Definitely. You learn so much faster when you're actually doing. Thank you, Vivian. Caroline, any advice for women and other minorities who want to take the leadership path?
For sure. Yeah, so my advice would be very much what Erin and Vivian had said. I really just want to throw in a quote I heard the other day that I think kind of really puts a you could use it as a mantra. It's from Maya Angelou, and it was, ask for what you want and then be prepared to get it. So I think that second part is the part that is key, that you're actually, prepared to get what you ask for. So, if you want to be a manager, go for it, and just know what you're getting into and know what you're trying.
It's a great quote. Thank you, Caroline. So I'm going to move on to questions from the audience. We do have a few here. This first question is for Erin. What would be a good way for a manager to measure their impact?
So as a manager, I'm responsible for the outcome of my team. So everything that any success that they have, any failure that they have, that's on me. So a way to measure the impact of a manager is measure the impact of the team. And so some ways that you can measure how a team is performing is to understand how, for a software developer manager, how are the features that they're developing? Are they being developed on time? Are the stakeholders happy with what's being put out? Is the quality up to par? Is the what else? The like are is the communication clear between like customer support? Do they understand what's happening? Are they happy with like resolutions to issues that come up? And measuring like how fast we're able to get features out the door. And that's all part of the manager's job, right? It's like, can I remove roadblocks? Am I making sure that things are being communicated to the proper stakeholders? Can I make sure that people are understanding what the expectation is for the individual features, so that we're able to build something that is quality, that our customers are happy with, and that the stakeholders are happy with? And so beyond that, if there is anything else that that you're working on, making sure that that's getting feedback on like your individual projects too. I think that's something that people maybe don't understand, is that in addition to like my team's work, I also have work that I'm assigned. I also have a boss, and I also have my own individual things that I'm doing. So on top of, your teamwork, you can look at, what feedback are you getting on the things that you're trying to drive. And then as well, what's really important is your team happy? Are the individuals on your team, do they feel like they are growing? Do they feel like they're happy with the company? Do they feel like they are getting good feedback from you? A lot of the impact that we have, the way to measure it is qualitative. So it's like just asking people how they feel about things.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. Next question from the audience. Let's see. Vivian, I will ask you this question. Is there an ideal team size after which your impact lessens because you just have too many direct reports?
I think like is in the industry they always say that like the ideal size is a 2 pieces team. That means like your team, there should be enough people that you can be fed by 2 pieces. So then people will ask me, oh, what about the pizza is big or small? Or like, what if people are really hungry? So actually, like if you convert that into the actual number of people, usually I think that like everyone should not have more than 10 reports, because I think if you have more than 10 reports, then now your attention will be less and less for everything that you can do, because we still have to do one-on-ones. We need to make sure that everyone is happy and then they're growing, right? So definitely, I think that like if you start seeing that your team start growing more than 10 reports or close to 10 reports, it's time for you to think about, should you have a team lead that you should manage instead of like you managing everyone. So you're managing less like direct report as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Vivian. So true. Having too many direct reports, you need to have some kind of help. And so a team lead is an excellent, step in between development manager and senior staff developer. Let's see. Next question, I think. For Caroline, when was there a time where there was internal conflict in your teams, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. So I think it's happened a few times, and they're usually fairly minor things, but I think the things that have happened most are revolve around communication, and so there's often like either miscommunication or people just somebody's angry and they say something in a way that hurts the other person in some way, and so I think the way that we approach solving that would be to have the people talk to each other. So, making sure that they first understand, go through the issues with them. I generally what would happen would be I would talk to them individually, kind of understand the problem myself to some degree, and then understand what they are feeling about it, and then get them to talk to each other and have that communication, either just on their own, or I have also been there to moderate discussions with people if they felt that they couldn't have those discussions on their own, and in most cases it just once they explained what they were how they were hearing what the other person was saying, um, the other person, they didn't mean it the way they did, or they came across, and so they worked it out themselves at that point.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. That's the hardest part about people management. That and underperforming reports. It's so tricky navigating those situations. So thank you for your answer. Next question is for Erin. Leading 3 teams seems like a huge effort. Do you have any team leads on your team, or is everyone a direct report?
So right now, everyone is a direct report, although I do have some senior people on each of my teams that I do lean on to take over some of the management responsibilities that I have. I'll say that FAIR is growing so fast right now that we are finding it challenging to have that like ideal 2 pizza team size for everybody. We are onboarding new managers all the time. We're hiring new managers too. If anybody out there is interested. So we have a new manager that's onboarding right now, and so he's going to take over one of my teams. So I'll be down to 2, but honestly, it'll probably be back up to 3 before long, before we have the next new manager onboarded. I think that is just one of the challenges of where we are right now, of being a scale up. We're growing so fast, and it's really hard to have that like kind of perfect ratio of managers to direct reports right now. But we are starting to, or I shouldn't say starting, but we are like building up the leadership skills within our teams so that people can start to take on some of these tasks, even if they're not maybe wanting to be a manager, or if they're not quite there yet, but they are able to still, build those skills and take some of that off of me.
Great. Thank you so much, Erin. Next question is for the musicians, but I think I will pass it to Caroline by default, and then we'll hear from Erin after. Is there any overlap between the skills needed to be a good manager and the skills needed to be in a band?
Yeah, I think so. I'd say uh, a lot of it is also communication. So being able to listen to each other in the band is very important. Especially like just not even just like interpersonally in as members of the band, but like while you're actually playing, being able to listen to the other people, so you're playing the same song at the same time, is key. And I think that's important as a manager as well, to listen to what's happening on your team. Um, Even not just like directly what people are saying, but being able to read them and see, how things are going. I think those are very similar overlapping skills.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. And Erin, anything to add?
Yeah, I was definitely thinking listening as well, being able to listen during the song and make any adjustments as necessary. But I'd say in addition to that, that also understanding kind of everybody's strengths and where everyone's at. I think that when we're trying to decide like what new songs we want to play, and we have to keep in mind like, well, this person doesn't like that kind of music, and maybe this is out of the vocal range of our lead singer, and well, our drummer's kind of weak, so we can't, have anything too fast there. And so that's another important thing, like as you're leading people, is knowing where people are at and what's going to be a challenge for them or what's going to be overwhelming to them.
How long have you been playing in a band together, Erin?
Caroline and I have been playing we took the last year off, which sucks. But before that, I'd say like a year and a half. Is that right, Caroline?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then Caroline and Caroline's partner and I played in a band before that for a number of years together.
That's great. So you've known each other a long time. That's great. Awesome. I have another question. Just want to quickly touch base with Vivian. Any leadership books or self-help books you can recommend to the group?
Many, many books are very good. So some of the top ones that I really like is High Output Management by Andrew Grove. So that one is a really good book because it's a book that every chapter can become a topic for some other books. So you actually learn a lot of things, and then you actually can look for more into those topics. And then other books I have like Radical Candor. Most of you already heard about that. That one, you learn about how to give and receive feedback, right? And then what else do I have on the bookshelf? I recently read Making of a Manager. So those are the management books that I have. Like there are probably way more than I can name right now. But like yeah, definitely there are many books that are good books for managers. If you're interested, just ping me. I will send you a list of books.
Off a few of my favorites. The Making of a Manager, I think, was perhaps my first management book. I believe it was written by someone who worked at Facebook, who's no longer at Facebook. I love her style of writing. We do have one last question from the audience. It has to do with how companies are defining the organizational structure and roles. What should companies have in mind in order to define the roles that fit into multiple profiles when talking about diversity? This question is for Caroline.
Sorry. I'm just trying to understand the question completely. Fit into multiple profiles. I don't know. I'm not sure I know the answer to that, or that I fully understand the question.
It's okay. It was a long question, but does anyone else want to take a stab at it? Erin, do you have anything you want to say on that topic?
Are they asking? I wonder if they're asking about like how to define a job posting. Do you have a an idea, Maria, on like how you want to frame the question?
Yeah, I guess we could kind of frame it in the sense of a job posting. How would you, I guess, in terms of diversity, use friendly language to make sure certain groups and demographics feel like they can apply? Like, do you have any advice or anything like that?
I think that being sure that you're not using gendered language on your job postings is like just step zero. And there's different sites that you can use as well, where you can like filter your career page and your job postings through through a service, and it'll tell you if there's any words like beyond just he or she, but things like rock star or being aggressive that are like kind of coded more masculine, and can suggest like alternate ways to describe your environment that you know will be more appealing to a broader range of people. I think too that making sure that you're clear on what is absolute must of the job, and sticking to that instead of the nice to haves, because there's studies that have shown that like if they even just get 2 of the must haves and none of the nice to haves, they'll still apply. But women will want to make sure they have all of the must-haves and also all of the nice-haves before they'll apply to a job. So again, making sure that like you're crafting it in a way that it's going to get the maximum number of applications of qualified candidates. And then as well, something that I saw that meant a lot to me was I believe it was a Shopify job ad, and they made a point of saying like we do not discriminate regardless of race, gender, sexual identity, and they put or like pregnancy status, which I'd never seen before, and it really stood out to me because I remember being pregnant and looking for a job at the time, and a lot of my friends were saying like, that's dumb, you're never going to get any job, no one's going to hire you if you're pregnant. So actually seeing a company say that's fine, even if you're pregnant, we'll still consider you for this opportunity was like kind of mind-blowing. And so that's something that I've made a point to like bring up at my companies and say like, what can we like for sure say and like encourage people in different groups to apply to this job.
What an insightful answer. Thank you so much, Erin. Well, we are just at about time. I just want to take the next minute or two just to thank you to our panel speakers. Thank you so much, Caroline, Erin, and Vivian, for taking the time to chat with me this evening. It was a pleasure getting to know each and every one of your background and experiences. A big thank you to the audience for hanging out with us this past hour. And of course, a huge thank you to Terminal, the whole team, and the live stream team for making this happen. It has been a lot of fun working with the group to get this going tonight. I believe there should be a copy of today's recording sent to everyone's email after the show. You can also enjoy previous recordings of Terminal's Tech Talks on their terminal.io page. Go to Tech Talk page on our terminal.io website. Please stay connected with Terminal. You can find them at Join Terminal on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.